Good morning, boys and girls. It's me, Dr. Rucker, again, back with another lesson. Today, we will focus on Lesson 4. This is for Week 5 of school. Lesson 4, okay? So, as you all know, our unit is Freedom Express. We're doing Lesson 4, which is Freedom of Assembly. Some key terms that you guys will see as we are going throughout this lesson are assembly. Think about that term, assembly. Repeat after me, assembly. When you hear that term, what comes to mind? Think about when we're here at school, when we were all together. We used to all gather together in the gym, oftentimes for speakers. I know one assembly that we had that was really cool was the Strong for Life. We had music playing. It was full of energy. Think about that term, assembly. What does it mean to have an assembly? So, an assembly, boys and girls, is being able to meet together, coming together, okay? Peacefully coming together and having a meeting. So, assembly, that's what that means. Amendments, repeat after me, amendments. Amendments, boys and girls, when you hear that term, that is when we are making changes or modifying a rule or law that is already in place, okay? Segregation. When you hear the term segregation, that means that a group of people are separated from another group, okay? Oftentimes, I know that you probably hear it a lot dealing with race. So they may separate Hispanics from blacks or blacks from white or vice versa. You can also be segregated based on your religion, based on a number of things, okay? So those are some terms that we'll have while completing this lesson, all righty? Our essential question, what we should know by the end of this class period, I'm going to swivel it over some so you can see, is can we meet peacefully? Then I have assembly in parentheses. So meeting, meaning assemble, okay? Can we meet peacefully? By the end of this lesson, you should be able to answer this question and explain why, okay? So, in order to better understand what an amendment is, you all will look at our classroom rules or the school rules. So here I have a copy of the classroom rules that were sent home. All right. I have raise your hand to speak and get out of your seat. Keep your hands and feet to yourself. Respect others. Worry about yourself and no bullying. And boys and girls, I've actually used these same exact rules for the last 13 years. So these are the same rules I've had since I've been teaching. Now, do they need some updating? Probably so. So what I want you to do is take a look at these rules and we're going to make some amendments. Okay, and again, remember we said amendments are making changes or modifying the rules that are already in place. Okay, so in order to better understand what an amendment is, you all will look at our classroom rules or the school rules and make some changes or amendments. You will decide whether there is a rule that will be added or a rule that should be changed in some way. You will write your ideas on an index card, and I'm going to post them in the classroom. So once you return them and make sure it's nice and neat, you're going to use this index card and you're going to make modifications or amendments to rules that are already in place. Now, here are three things. You can either make a change or amendment to our classroom rules, you can make an amendment to the school rules, or you can choose one of both, okay? And then we're going to write that nice and neat on the index card, all right? So after you've done that, the next thing we're going to do is take a look at this court case, okay? That looks like this. It is Edwards versus South Carolina, freedom of assembly, freedom to hold meetings. Americans are free to meet together to discuss problems and to plan their actions. Meetings must be carried on in a peaceful way. The facts of the case are the 187 black people organized a march in the to the South Carolina State House, in which small groups of 15 would walk in an open public area protesting the policies of segregation in their state. The march was peaceful, did not block pedestrian or vehicular traffic. It was an organized protest on public property. 30 police officers ordered the group to break up or be arrested. The marchers did not stop and instead began singing religious and patriotic songs like the Star Spangled Banner. They were arrested and later convicted on a charge of disturbing the peace. Now, if it was peaceful, how could they be disturbing the peace? They didn't block any traffic. They didn't stop any other people who were walking, that's pedestrians. And they were charged with disturbing the peace. Now, here's the question. Did the arrest and convictions of the marchers violate their freedom of speech, assembly, and petition as covered by the First Amendment? Before I move further, I'm going to take a look at the packet that I gave you earlier. Each of you have a copy of your amendments, okay? Amendment 1 states freedom of religion, speech, and the press, the right to assemble and petition. The First Amendment might be one of the best known. It allows people to establish and practice their religion freely and to speak their ideas and opinions. It protects the rights of its citizens to hold meetings and to petition the government. It gives the press, newspaper and magazines, the right to publish the news and ideas. So I just reviewed what Amendment 1 states, okay? And the question was, did the arrest and convictions of the marchers violate their freedom of speech, assembly, and petition as covered by the First Amendment? Here's the conclusion. Yes, the court took the side of the marchers and the arrests were against their First Amendment rights. The judge found clear constitutional violations in this case. The judge said the marchers' actions were an exercise of First Amendment rights and a state cannot make criminal the peaceful expression. Okay? Now, again, this entire unit is very relevant today. Okay? We have people that are protesting different situations and are protesting for different causes. You have a right to peacefully assemble and protest as long as you're not impeding upon vehicular traffic, pedestrian traffic, as long as you're not causing a ruckus. That is your right based on Amendment 1, okay? The next thing that you're going to do, we've already read and examined the court case of Edwards versus South Carolina. Now we're going to develop a working hypothesis regarding causes and effects. So, hypothesis is basically an educated guess. So you're going to think about a question and you're going to provide an answer that you feel will match it now or will answer it. Your hypothesis isn't always right, but based on what you already know, you will create a hypothesis. The next thing we're going to do is build a case that explains how and why certain events may have taken place. So, in your packet, you have forms that look like this, okay? It says group because typically when we're in class, we will be working together. But you're at home, so we don't have that luxury, okay? You're going to create case questions to ask your peers. And what I'm going to do is be able to post those questions when you guys come in. Or I can discuss them in not this video, but the next 2 weeks video, okay? So prepare a list of at least 2 arguments for each side of the case, and you're going to write your final thoughts on the case, putting yourselves in these specific scenarios. All right, so using the case, Edwards versus South Carolina, you're going to write the create a freedom of assembly scenario. This is your choice. So I've given you an example of a freedom of assembly scenario. Now you're going to create your own, okay? It's your world, it's your choice, okay? You will create a freedom of assembly scenario. Then you're going to have case questions, just like they have here. This case question was, did the arrest and convictions of the marchers violate their freedom of speech, assembly, and petition as covered by the First Amendment? You will create questions. In your packet, you have a space for up to 4 questions, okay? Then you're going to create arguments. What arguments might the lawyers for each party make to support their position? There is a spot for 3 arguments. Again, All of this information should be provided in your scenario that you create. It's your world, it's your choice. You're creating this, okay? Then you'll have your final thoughts. Final thoughts is just like the conclusion here on this scenario. So use this case, Edwards versus South Carolina, as a guide to help you create your own freedom of assembly scenario and final thoughts, okay? And that is all for lesson 4. If you have any questions, please contact me at the school, or you can email me at ruckerad@fultonschools.org. I miss you all so much, and I will see you all in our next video. Have a good one.